Hi there, Zephyr J here, hope you're having a good day. A new free mod has recently been released for assetto-corsa. SimRacing604 reviewed it on his channel earlier this week and gave it a glowing recommendation. As Mike is a trustworthy source for assetto-corsa mods, I picked it up a couple of days ago and have been having a lot of fun with it since. The mod in question is the car in front of you, the Radical SR3 XXR from United Racing Design. It's an absolute track weapon. Mike from SimRacing604 did a great video demonstrating its capabilities by beating all manner of expensive race cars, including GT3s, around the Road Atlanta track. There was, however, a car in that video where the Radical fell short.
What was that? I didn't even see it. I didn't even get a chance to look at the clock. 121.7. Absolutely decimating the SR3. But all shall bow to the P1, of course. This is the king. But there might be a new king.
This got me thinking. What would it take to beat the Hypercar king with the Radical? To score a win for the plucky boys from Peterborough over their illustrious compatriots over in Woking? In this video, I'm going to find out. If you find yourself enjoying this video at any point, I'd appreciate a like, and if you'd like to see more of this, consider subscribing to the channel. YouTube formalities out the way, let's begin. First things first, we're going to need to match Mike's time in the Radical to set ourselves a baseline to work out whether this is something I'm even capable of. The time he managed around Road Atlanta in the Radical was a 1:24 flat. Now, I've raced it a fair few times before, so I know the track fairly well, so let's see how we get on. One thing I do know about this track is that the first corner needs lots of commitment.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
Well, no lack of commitment, but a distinct lack of talent on that one. This lack of talent unfortunately continued for a little while. I eventually managed to get round the first corner, but found myself up against a new challenge in turns 2 and 3. Interesting that Mike makes this look really easy, just setting laps, and I'm making a bit of a mess of it. We're improving at least, managed to keep out of the wall on the second time. Thankfully you learn more from failure than you do from success, and given the lack of our success so far, I fully expect to be an esports driver by the end of this. Some more learnings here as we make a mess of the entry trying to floor it on the grass, and that turns out to be a sub-optimal strategy. Thankfully I did manage to keep it on the black stuff just long enough to set a representative time, despite trying my best to mess it up at T1 by being greedy on the entry. Decent into here, not a great line, but managed to get in the power early. Try to minimise the speed loss through the sweepers before we get up to the tricky left up the hill. Again, line not wonderful, but decent exit thanks to the esports line on the outside. Coming down into here, pick a braking point, carrying as much speed we can while concentrating on setting up the most important corner on the track, leading on to the big straights. Bit tentative going in. Too much curb on entry and exit, but we're on the power okay at least. So now onto the long straight, which is where our massive power deficit to the P1 will hurt us most. Lots of times to think about the ways you can screw up the final chicane as you're coming down here. Again, find a braking point. Work as hard as you dare whilst not locking up. Try and maximise the exit of the right-hander, not too bad. Now just picking a path of least resistance to the line. And we've done it. A solid 123.5. So we know we're on the pace at least, but we're a little way off the P1's time of 121.7. Thankfully, I think I have just the plan to overcome that deficit. To find the 2 or so seconds we need, we're going to have to overcome some of our power deficit to the P1. To do that, we're going to build our own engine. Now, we could be lazy and slap a massive V6 or V8 in, but it's a bit unrealistic and there's not really any fun in that. Instead, we're going to use the existing specs of the engine as the restrictions for our new engine. Looking at the Radical website, the engine specs looks like it's a 4-cylinder 1.5 litre engine that can run on biofuel, which I believe is E85. The current engine outputs 226 horsepower, so our aim will be to improve upon that. With the brief defined, let's create it over in automation. Okay, tinkering done. I present to you Zephyr Powertrain's latest engine, the Vanquisher 1.5 litre. 4-cylinder, dual overhead cams, 16 valve with variable valve timing, variable valve lift, which kicks in at 5,000 RPM, and it generates 220 kilowatts, which is 295 brake horsepower. To get it near the weight of the original engine, we've had to go with a magnesium block and some significant tech pool and quality settings. But given that we're competing against the car more than $1 million worth, I reckon that's justified. So, all there is to do now is to get it swapped into the Radical with engine crane. That looks like it's all worked correctly. It shows up with the correct power curve in Content Manager. So let's get back to the track. So, back at Road Atlanta to see if we can beat Mike's P1 time over 1:21.7. Our first sighter lap goes significantly better than last time. Despite running a little bit wide on the final corner, we already managed to match the 1:24 that Mike set in the stock SR3. Lap 2, however, we revert to type as we start to find out that with great power comes great throttle responsibility. The less said about lap 3, the better, as once again we find that our ambition outweighs our talent going through turn 1. And well, it's just a comedy of errors on dirty tyres from that point on. Pathetic little spin here. So bad our virtual driver doesn't know what to do with their hands, and then do the opposite up here, overcorrect a slide straight into the wall. Lap 4 was going pretty well until we got greedy with the curb on the inside here, trying to maximise our exit, and there's another silly spin. And it's not until lap 5 that we actually put together a representative time. So coming into T1, all about carrying as much speed through here as we can get away with. There's a bit left on the table there. 2 and 3 make a bit of a mess of the line coming in, pinched on the apex, having to catch a slide, but we're through at least. Picking a line through here that gets as much speed coming up this hill as possible, and into the tricky left. Don't use all the track on the entry, and again pinched a bit, but managed to correct a slide, and we're through there okay. So a little pause for this straight, and then carrying in as much speed as we dare through here, quite conservative. This is an important corner, need to make sure you get the power as early as possible. That's pretty conservative, but we've done it. And now the long straight, where our new engine definitely helps us in the straight line speed department. Pick a braking point, sacrifice a bit on the left here to maximise the exit onto the start and finish straight through here. And now it's just a case of pinning it to the line, watching the timer and seeing where we're at. So a 1:23 flat. So that 70 extra horsepower has found us a whopping half a second improvement. Skill issue. Lap 5 finds us another half a second, so we're down to 22.5. Incremental improvements there. Lap 7 is ruined by this track cut on the exit of the tricky left up the hill. However, when we come to the line on lap 7, we see we do have the pace, 1:21.7. If we can do that legally, we're in business. So all of that brings us on to lap 8. Is this the one? Coming into T1, dab of the brakes, commit to the throttle. Not too bad through there, decent amount of speed, coming up into 2 and 3. Pick a better line, on the power early, catch a little slide there. That's one of the lovely things about this car, is that you can slide it around and catch it. It feels so satisfying. Coming up to the tricky left up the hill, commit to the throttle, big correction there, but we make it through. Carrying a good amount of speed onto this little straight, and now it's just a case of picking a braking point, carrying as much speed as we can through here. Much better line into this important corner. Little hesitation on the throttle, but not too bad. We're on it pretty early. So again, The long straight. Plenty of time for us to think about how to muck it up into this final chicane. We know we're on a decent lap, so let's try and concentrate on the braking point and ignore any thoughts of bottling it. So again, pick a braking point, sacrifice the first corner, fairly low minimum speed, but we've got on the power early. It's a good exit. So now it's just pinning it to the line, watching the timer. What's it going to be? A 120.8. We have a new king, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies, Mike, but the P1 has officially been dethroned. Radical and Zephyr powertrains laying down a marker in the world of motorsport. Well, I had a ton of fun making this video. This mod is great fun to drive, and I'd highly recommend it. If you haven't already, you should go and check out SimRacing604's original video. He's one of my favourite sim racing YouTubers, and I can only thank him for laying down a gauntlet that gave me the idea for this little challenge. If you enjoyed this as much as I did, I'd appreciate a click of the like button, and if you'd like to see more of this, then consider subscribing. If you're interested in how to do these engine swaps yourself, you'll find my mod Engine Crane on Race Department, along with a link to a tutorial. All links for this I'll leave in the description. So that's all from me today. The next video should hopefully be about the addition of changing a car's gearing in Engine Crane when you do a swap. I've been asked by a few people for it, and it's not too far from being done. Until then, have a great day, and I'll see you again next time.